Is that Geek King OS? Yeah, I'm trying to get it to fucking work. And I don't know why it like... So I get it to install. And then... It has a problem because I want to check out OpenBox before I install it on my laptop and waste a bunch of time. So it installs it. It installs it, and it's kind of interesting. It kind of installs it and says it's kind of like a long install process. OpenBox is the best experience with Tint 2 and that one pop-up that's right on my tongue. So I looked at OpenBox and I kind of like how it looks. I'm not a big fan of tiling window managers. I don't know if OpenBox that's what it's considered. I know it's used in the ricing community. Let me see. Is it? It is a window manager. Yay. I've just never been a fan of window managers. But if it works and it ends up being clean and I like it, I'll absolutely 100% keep it. So my goal is three simple goals. Apply the Unix philosophy on my laptop minus Libre boot because and I know it's called GNU boot, but that's a fucking shit show. It's a lot of laptops don't support it. Core boot I think is completely fine. OpenBox is a floating stacking. You would know because I daily drived it before. Hey man, what are you installing? Geeks. I'm just testing it out. You would know because I daily drive it before. True, I know. I am everyone's FBI handler. I'm in everyone's PC. Next, we're gonna vibe code. Geeks, no stream. Why is someone messaging me on Discord if there's no stream? He's live. So, I am on stream. He's live. Thank you, Kick. So, OpenBox is cool looking compared to like the other window managers I was looking at, but I want to apply the freest system I could think of. The Unix philosophy, you could say. God, good thing I never became a fucking English teacher. And we're gonna go over it, and we're gonna think. We're gonna put our, and then we're gonna learn, and then we're instead of C, we're gonna learn V. What is GNU stands on V, guys? Please, someone tell me so I don't get Richard Stallman at my doorstep. I know Richard Stallman uses Transco, but Transco is literally fucking. I think it's like it's like a fork of Debian, and I just, or Ubuntu or something. It's a fork of Ubuntu, and I just fucking hate Ubuntu with a dying passion. I'm an Ubuntu hater, even though I use Ubuntu Server because it's quite honestly the easiest thing to run. I might switch to Alpine Linux as my main, but I digress. The philosophy of the GNU project: free software means software users have freedom. The issue is not about price. We develop GNU operating systems so users can have freedom in their computing. Specifically, free software means users have the 4 essentials of freedom: run the program, to study and change the program in its source code form, to redistribute exact copies, and to distribute modified versions. Software differs from material objects such as chairs, sandwiches, and gasoline in that it can be copied and changed much more easily. These facilities are why software is useful. We believe that users should be free to take advantage of them, not solely its developer. If you think about it, if a chair has proprietary, I know this is kind of funny because people have said that, like, imagine hanging out with Richard Stallman, and he's just like, sorry, I can't sit on this chair because I don't know if it uses a proprietary channel, proprietary like screwdriver set. I mean, that's why I think he doesn't use Wi-Fi. Because he doesn't know if the Wi-Fi he's using is truly free. I actually use a freer version of Wi-Fi card in my laptop, which is kind of interesting in a sense because I haven't had any Wi-Fi issues. It's not an Intel. It removes the proprietary blobs. I also did strip out my microphone, and Alpine or one of the BSDs are good for servers. They're the first 2 letters in BAST acronym, true. BAST, BSD, Alpine, Signal Entanglement, DNS. Use or self-host one of the more, and you are BAST. I did use Alpine on the Raspberry Pi a long time ago for my Pi-hole, but I had to stop using Pi-hole for a specific reason. So that's true. Introduct anchoring the FSS and its values. These motherfuckers got unemployment type of writing. The founder of the Free Software Foundation stated that Free Software Foundation in 1985 with the moral goal of users controlling over the computer what we call software freedom, and specifically to support the development of the GNU operating system that would make software freedom a practical possibility. The critical first significant decision is the 5 founders faced was how the new organization would be governed, so as its project goals and principles. Interesting. Nowadays, large political movements, business kingpins, and various governments. Honeypot uses Signal though, so he's still based. True. Yes, I use Signal because Signal based. It's kind of like the best option. Innovation is secondary when freedom is at stake. Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, I do think about that too, like, and how innovation shouldn't matter if freedom is being, like, you can innovate and still be fucking under like an insane regime. Install. So this is the problem that I run into. Nope, that's okay. It's still running. Why let's insist on free software. Innovation is secondary. Copy left. You know what's funny? I've never understood copyleft, so let me read this. Now I know that like the licensing, like MIT license, GPL3 license. I'm not a license expert, but there are people that like go over like extreme scenarios of like why certain licensing is proprietary in its nature and problematic. Actually, here's a good example of a company that changed its policy. There's something called MinIO. Went proprietary essentially, and source available. So this is MinIO. It remains open source under the blah blah blah. This is not true. It kind of did. So in October 2021, MinIO officially transitioned its core server, gateway, and client software to the AGPL license. I just listened to this. Okay, here's what it is. So more recently, in 2025, MinIO announced that the Community Edition would be distributed as source code only, with no precompiled binary releases provided. Users are not required to build the software from source using Go install GitHub MinIO Relatus or build Docker image from the provided Docker file. This move has been criticized by the open community as the barrier to access, a step away from practical open source collaboration. I agree, especially for users relying on automated deployments. Additionally, in June 2025, MinIO removed its key administrative features from the open source web UI, restricting functionality such as account and policy management, bucket configuration, lifestyles, and management, and site replication to its paid enterprise edition, which starts at $96,000. Later, Billy. The open source version is now limited to basic object browsing, leading to some describe the project as open source, technically but not practically friendly. These actions remove barriers, stripping UI functionality and steering users towards paid subscription, have led to a lot of criticism in moving away from the spirit of open source collaboration, despite maintaining a GPL3 Level 3 license as a result of several alternatives such as Garage, RustFS-based, Seaweed FS, and Ceph have been recommended by you. And they did recommend. Now they did recommend like users to go to these alternative options if they fit their needs, but that's fucking insane. I used MinIO for a lot of things, like when I wanted to experiment with like S3. Its user interface was really, 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 really easy to understand, especially if you just don't want to do everything command line based when it comes to just setting up like an S3 bucket to kind of test like the purpose. I think Nextcloud has an S3 option now, if I'm not mistaken. But it is just kind of sad to see like a company go to this kind of route. Maybe it's a monetary thing. Maybe their resources are being spent to the point of like, all right, we got to put more money into the Enterprise Edition, but $96,000 is fucking crazy to start. I mean, I will admit their servers are like insanely priced, and even their Houston, their shit's just insanely priced. But it's geared towards people that want something that just works. But it's expensive. But I did look at Garage, and I used Seaweed once and I didn't like it. And maybe I'll check out RustFS because it has Rust base in it. But copyleft problematic idealism. Every decision a person makes stems from the person's values and goals. People can have many different goals and values. Fame, profit, love, survival, fun, and freedom are just some of the goals that a good person might have. When the goal is a matter of principle, we call them idealism. My work on the free software is motivated by an idealistic goal, spreading freedom and cooperation. I want to encourage free software to spread, replacing proprietary software that forbids cooperation, and thus making our society better. This is a philosophical point that people have made out that, collaboration generally leads to somewhat form of better ideas. Not everyone has to agree on it, every decision that's made, and not everyone's going to. But generally, in the long term, when you introduce other people that come from different backgrounds, in a sense, you generally come to better conclusions and maybe better outcomes. Not everything should come from one homogenous idea, because that could be biased in a sense. Like if you, for sake, live in if you've never used public transportation, you might think that it is the devil and it is the worst thing ever invented on the planet, and it might suck. Or you might be in the rare subset of people that do have good access to public transportation, but they complain about it because it's not as efficient as they want to be, until you bench you off from, Europe to the. I've talked to a lot of Europeans, and they're all like, "Oh, like train bad. It take forever. I wish I had car." And then you take them to like America, and they're like, "This awful idea." It's and that's where like the different background and like perspective is. I don't think like Europe is a haven of good, like the best public transportation in the world, but that's just kind of like, it's better than the US. There probably could, like if you wanted to build like a good public infrastructure, you'd probably bring someone from a country that literally deals with more public infrastructure, maybe from the size of like America that has good public infrastructure, kind of like maybe like China. China would be even a good. It's a huge country. It's got a dense population, so like you could probably bring people from that, and they could probably design like with I guess good intentions and better minds. There's always going to be a benefit from interacting with people with different social graphs, different backgrounds, different lifestyles, different upbringings, different perspective. I think that is inherently not a bad thing. And free software kind of allows you to do that, because anyone can contribute to code. Especially like if you go on GitHub, you could have like 50 contributors, and it could just be people that are skilled in different types of software. Different software, different ways of writing software. I mean, if you take someone that's written software from a different country, they probably have a different outlook and perspective of how it should be written, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's just like the kind of the reality of it. It's good to have open software that has an open dialogue, that has better chances of collaborating with people that are probably smarter than some people. I always say 17 eyes is better than 2 or something. So that's the basic reason why the GNU General Public License is written the way it is, as a copy left. All code added to a GPL covered program must be free software, even if it is put in a separate file. I make my code available for use in free software, not used for proprietary software, in order to encourage other people who write software to make it as free as well. I figured that since proprietary software developers use copyright to stop us from sharing, we corporators can use copyright to give other corporations an advantage in their own advantage zone. They can use our code. Not everyone who uses a GNU GPL has this gold. Many years ago, a friend of mine was asked to release a copylefted program under the non-copyleft terms, and he responded more or less like this: "Sometimes I work on free software, and sometimes I work on proprietary software. But when I work on proprietary software, I expect to get paid." He was willing to share his work with a community that shares software, but saw no reason to give a handout to a business making a product that would be off limits to our community. His goal was different from mine, but he decided that the GNU GPL was useful to his goal too. Interesting. If you want to accomplish something in the world, idealism is not enough. You need to choose a method that works to achieve the goal. In other words, you need to be pragmatic. Is GPL pragmatic? Let's look at the results. Consider the GNU C++. Why do we have a free C++ compiler? Only because the GNU GPL said it had to be free. GNU C++ was developed by an industry consortium, MCC, starting from the GNU C compiler. MCC normally marked its work as proprietary as can be, and then they made the C++ front end free software. Because the GNU GPL said that it was the only way it could release it, the C++ front end included many new files, but since they were meant to be linked with GCC, the GPL did apply to them. the benefit of our community is evident. Consider GNU Objective C. Next-T initially wanted to make this front end proprietary. They proposed a release as a .o files and let the users link them with the rest of GCC. Thinking that this might be a way around the GPL's requirements, but our lawyers said that this would not even evade the requirements, that it was not allowed. And so they made the Objective-C front-end free software. Those examples happened years ago, but the GNU GPL continues to bring more free software. Many GNU libraries are covered by the GNU lesser than general public license, but not all. One GNU library which is covered by the ordinary GPL is Redline, which implements command line editing. I once found out about a non-free program which was designed to use Redline and told the developers this was not allowed. He could have taken the command line editing out of the program, but what he actually did was release it under GPL. Now it's free software. That's crazy. The programmers who write improvements to the GCC for Emacs, Bash, and Linux or any GPL covered program are often employed by companies or universities. When the programmer wants to return his improvements to the community and see his code in the next release, the boss may say, "Hold on there, your code belongs to us. We don't want to share it. We have to decide to turn your improvement version into proprietary software product." Here, the GNU GPL comes to the rescue. The programmer shows the boss that his proprietary software product would be copyright infringement, and the boss realizes that he only has two choices: release the new code as free software, or not at all. Almost always he lets the programmer do his intended all along. The code goes into the next release. The GNU GPL is not Mr. Nice Guy. It says no to some of the things that people sometimes want to do. There are users who want to say this is a bad thing, that GPL excludes some proprietary software developers who need to be bought into the free software community, but we're not excluding them from our community. They are choosing not to enter. The decision to make software proprietary is a decision to stay out of our community. Being in our community means joining in cooperation with us. We cannot bring them into our community if they don't want to join. That's kind of an interesting outlook on how they do it. It's kind of interesting. The fuck? I don't think the internet is connecting to it. I could be wrong though. All right. Maybe it'll work now. Okay. And I kind of agree, like, to a certain aspect is like they have a principle, they want these principles met, and if people don't want to follow it, then they don't have to fucking follow it. I mean, I get where they're coming from. I think the the GNU Foundation does get a lot of flack that's undeserved, but they have a principle, they have a standard, and they want those standards to be met, and that's whatever. Don't use their licensing, don't violate their code. I mean, at the end of the day, their ideology, I guess. I think some of their strictness can be pragmatic. I mean, but it's at the end of the day, it's how they want to run their organization. Whew. I will even say that there is a problem. There's not a problem necessarily with the company wanting to make money, and if they're worried about some intellectual property right, I get it. Void mentioned. Wayland mentioned. But just make good software and make things that people can't copy. I mean, everything's open source in theory if you're if you know reverse engineering. You could kind of, now I think about it, you could kind of steal software and just go to a different country that just doesn't going to comply. It probably happens more than not. I just hate NixOS so much. There we go. So it's. I think there's. I mean, there are problems. I mean, licensing. I mean, you could probably. Just do that. It's kind of interesting. It's interesting because it's good to know. I think it's very good to know that, like, I've always said that companies can change policies, protocols can't. Like, if you have a good, solid protocol, and that protocol is ingrained like email. I know it sounds crazy to even say that, but email, Nostr, and Principal. Principles can kind of change, but privacy policies can always change. If you write software to protect your user at the end of the day, where it doesn't really matter what they change on the policy side, because they built it from the ground up to be as secure and private as possible. I mean, their policies are kind of like, whatever. But when you have a company that's basing everything off a promise and a policy, they can change these policies whenever they want. Like if it's concrete proof right now and evident that Signal can never access your data, and people are watching it on the open source side, or it's been forked. It got forked. I mean, Mali is a fork of it, and they adhere to that principle, and then it kind of protects you in the long term. It kind of protects you in the long term versus you just trusting Signal. It's proprietary. Don't worry, bro. We got it. Kind of thing. A trust me, bro type attitude, I guess. But that in itself, it is where a lot of people fall short. They have a trust me, bro type attitude, and there is some level of trust, but at least it can be backed up. Okay. Okay. Proprietary software developers do not contribute to our community, but its developers often want handouts from us. Free software users can offer free software developers strokes for the ego, recognition, gratitude, and it can be very tempting when a business tells you, just let us put your package in our proprietary program and your program will be used by many thousands of people. The temptation can be powerful, but in the long run, we're better off to resist it. The temptation and pressure are even harder to recognize when it comes from indirectly through free software organizations that have adopted a policy for catering to proprietary software. The X Consortium and its successor, the Open Group, offers an example. Funded by companies that made proprietary software, they survived a decade of pseudo-programmers not to use copyleft, and then when the Open Group tried to make X11 R64 non-free software, those of us who had resisted that pressure, we were glad we did. In September 1998, several months after the X11 6.4 was released with non-free distribution terms, the Open Group reversed its decision and released it under the same non-copyleft free software license that was used for the X11 6.3. Thank you, Open Group. But this subsequent reversal does not invalidate the consensus that we draw from the fact that aiding the restrictions was possible. Pragmatically speaking, thinking about greater long-term goals will strengthen your will to resist the pressure. If you focus your mind on the freedom and the community, then you can build by staying firm. You will find the strength to do it, stand for something, or you'll fall for everything. And if Synantics ridicule freedom, ridicule community, if hard-nosed realists say that profit is the only ideal, just ignore them. They use copyleft all the time. Interesting. So, license. Oh, I can just do this. The most I think the MIT license is the most free one. The term most free can be interpreted various, but in context of open source freedom, the most permissive licenses are often considered the most free due to the minimal restrictions on use. The MIT license is widely regarded as one of the most popular and permissive open source licenses, allowing almost total freedom to use, modify, and distribute software, even with the proprietary products, as long as the original copyright notice and disclosures are included. It is often cited the most used open source license in the world due to its simplicity and clarity. As of 2015, the MIT license is reported as the most popular free license, surpassing the GPL version 2, and this trend continues subsequent years. Other highly permissive licenses are the Apache license, BSD license, and the unlicensed, which are also considered extremely permissive and compatible. Let's see. Speaking of BSD. Oh, nice. Success. I see no errors. Based. You installed is not complete. You may remove the device containing the installation. It's weird. I did this and it still didn't install it. It just did this. Maybe? Motherfucker. I don't get this. It says installing. I'll just try it on. I'll just try it on real hardware, like a man. Published software should be free software. To make it free, you need to release it under a free software license. We normally use the GNU General Public License, GPL, specifying version 3 or any later version, but occasionally we use other free software licenses. We only use licenses that are compatible with the GNU, GPL, and GNU software. Documentation for free software should be free documentation so that people can redistribute and improve it along with the software that it describes. To make it a free documentation, you need to release it under the free documentation license. We normally use the GNU free documentation license, GNU FDL, but occasionally we use other free document license. If you start a new project and you're not sure what license how to choose a license for your own work, details are recommended in Easy Follow Guide. You just want a quick list reference. We have put them in the recommended copyleft license. Everyone is permitted. Okay, the GNU free documentation license. My favorite license, actually, unironically, is do whatever the fuck you want license. I think is called. That's pretty based. It's pretty clear. Definition of purpose. Oh. The GPL license is the cornerstone of open source. Okay. GPL2 versus GPL3. The GPL has evolved over time to two major versions, GPL2 and GPL version 3. While both versions uphold the core principles of free software freedom, the GPL version 3 includes additional protections against software patents and hardware restrictions. It addresses the modern technological challenge, making it robust in today's digital landscape. GPL2 focuses on ensuring the freedom to share and change software. enhances the compatibility GPL3 version 3 compatibility with other license and addresses legal and technology issues not covered by that. Lesser GPL, LGPL. The lesser general public license is a variant of the GPL designed for software libraries. It allows developers to link to LGPL license libraries without requirements of their own software. GPL license, the flexibility makes it suitable for the project. Historical context of the GPL. Copyleft is a general method for making program-free software, requiring all modifications and extended versions of the program to be free software as well. Richard Stallman. Benefits of developers and users, ensuring software freedom, compatibility, case studies, Blender. Oh, wow. WordPress. WordPress is a prime example of GPL license in action, serving as one of the most popular systems globally. The platform's success is largely attributed to the open source nature. Blender is a powerful open source 3D creation suite. Success stories, common pitfalls. Okay, interesting. In 2005, the Free Software Foundation announced it worked on version 3 of GPL. In 2006, the first discussion draft, GPL 3, was published and public consultation began. The official GPL 3 was released on June 29th of 2007. GPL was written by Richard Stallman with legal counsels from Edmund Morgan and Richard Fontana from the Software Freedom Law Center. Wow. A free software lawyer based Okay. See, the Software Freedom Law Center is an organization provided pro bono, law review. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Wow, BusyBox into litigation. During 2007-2008, filed a series of copyright infringement lawsuits against the various defendants on behalf of Eric Anderson and Rob Landon and the principal developers of BusyBox. These lawsuits claim that violations of version 2 of the GNU General Public License. BusyBox is an implementation of many Linux Unix commands in a single executable file. It runs in many POSIX environments, including Linux, Android, FreeBSD, although many of them tools provided. Actually, does this do FreeBSD? I'm gonna see if I can do FreeBSD. Would you like to begin installation or use the live system? Install. Continue. Big balls. Damn it. Base TV, base system debugging. ZFS. Dangerous ZFS with no backup options. Interesting. Actually, FreeBSD isn't done. Dragonfly. it good? I wonder if this is a thing. Interesting. Mailbox can. Maybe I'll have to check this out. All right, guys. Awesome. Thanks for joining. I will